So what's the best size fridge for your micro camper? Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So let's just get straight into it. You guys have seen the fridge that I've got in Dobby. It's an Alpicool C9 compressor fridge, and the reason behind getting this fridge is just because how small it was. It's got a small form factor, and when I built Dobby, I didn't actually have a space in mind for where I was going to put a fridge. So basically beside the side door was the only place I could put it, above the diesel heater. For a micro camper, it's got a decent enough storage in it. You just need to be a wee bit mindful of what you're putting in it and when you're going to be eating it. But I love this thing. As you can see, it's just so small and so portable, and when it's plugged into my fuse box, it's only taking 40 watts, but when it's at temperature, it basically cuts off. So that's what's good about this one. Yes, the capacity isn't massive, but again, you could easily store stuff in this for a couple of days. But I think the biggest selling point of this C9 fridge is just the fact of how small it is. For car camping, for micro camping, if you went somewhere with the car and you were going to go tent camping, you could easily take this out and plug it into a power station. This thing is so efficient, you know, it'll run for days and it's not going to drain your battery. Because if you remember with the first fridge that we had, it was a Halford's cool box, and that thing just drained the battery. It just constantly wanted power. So if you're going to get a fridge for your camper, just make sure it's a compressor fridge. The video that I did for this fridge is constantly in the top 5 of my videos that are watched every week. As I've accrued more bigger power stations and new equipment for the van, Dobby's outgrew it, and the only way for me to make everything fit now is if we dismantle and rebuild Dobby. So with that in mind, and given how well the C9 Alpicool video did, I reached out to Alpicool and I showed the video and how well it's doing, and I asked them if they'd be interested in a collaboration for this video. And when I sent them the details for this video and how well it's doing, they were delighted to collaborate on this video. So delighted, in fact, they gave me the option to pick any fridge I wanted. So thank you, Alpicool. Now with that in mind, you might be thinking that I've went with the biggest size capacity fridge they have. You need to remember I'm still in a micro camper and it still needs to fit. So if you remember from another video, I reviewed a massive 36 litre fridge, and I knew right away that's just too big for this camper. And yes, while I am going to be redoing the van, I don't want to dedicate a massive space just for a fridge, but I do want a decent sized one just for a teeny bit more storage. This is what I went for. So I settled on the Alpicool C15. Let's get it unboxed and see how it stacks up against the C9 and if it's going to be too big for the micro camper. I always hate taking styrofoam out here just because it goes everywhere. The first thing I'm noticing straight away is just how flat the lid is compared to the C9. So already I'm loving that. And then we've got the LCD panel. Let's get this ripped off. So satisfied. So let's see what we get in the box. So we've got a nice long 12 volt car charger, and we've also got a AC plug as well with the adapter should you want to use it in the house, or with a power station through the AC, and pretty standard manual as well. So that's everything that comes in the box, so let's dig in. So first impressions, I love it, and it's not that much bigger than the C9. Let's stack the C9 on top and see a size difference. I don't think that's a whole lot of extra space added. When the fridge is down there, it sits this way, so the power cord's here, and when I open the lid, I've got easy access to it. But the problem is the 12 volt is down here, so when I want anything from the fridge, I would have to lift it up, basically reach round. So it would be handier if this was the other way around. It's not going to be permanently there, so I'm not worrying about it too much. The massive difference is this is more flatter. In the very middle here, there's like a small peak, and I think that's just because of the extra space in there, but there is a wee raised bit that doesn't make it level, so this would have fit under my bed storage if it wasn't for this lid. But again, aesthetically looking at it, it just looks very similar. Got your fans at the front, got your fans and obviously the DC input here, just another fan here. Got recessed handles that just make it a whole lot easier for carrying. And one of the other reasons why I went for this version in this model was the LCD panel. So on the Alpicool C9 it does have a LCD screen as well. On this one it's so bright at night, it's almost like there's a light on in the camper, so I need to put something over it just to keep the light off it. So the C9 is a 9 litre fridge and the C15 is a 15 litre fridge. It's not a massive amount, but that small extra space will actually help. But there is an updated version to the C9 which does have this colour scheme, but it doesn't have this LCD panel, but it still has the raised lid upgrade on it. This one isn't the direct upgrade from the C9. You do have the C12, as I'll show here. The C12 is a 12 litre one, but the lid is even more pronounced, and I think that's why I skipped it and went straight for the C15, because it was more flatter. I wouldn't go for it. I would go for either the C9 or the C15. So in terms of storage, the C9 can hold 12 cans at 330 millilitres, and they would have to be lying on their side stacked up, and it can hold 8 500 millilitre bottles of water, and again on their back stacked up. In terms of wine bottles for the C9, I don't think they would fit. However, with the C15 you can hold 20 cans. You can hold 10 550 millilitre bottles of water in here, and it can also hold 6 750 millilitre bottles of wine, if that's what you want. As you can see, we can already store a lot more, and yes, it's not going to be a massive amount of storage, but considering that I've came from the C9, this is going to feel like a lot more storage to me. So let's talk about the features. So both the C9 and the C15 run off DC 12 volt 24 volts. They both have an LCD panel to control the temperature, change modes, all the rest of it. However, with the C15 you actually get a USB socket, if you can see there. So that's pretty handy. They both can go from minus 20 degrees to 20 degrees, and they both also share the fact that they can both be used as a fridge or a freezer, but not both. Most importantly, the both of them have low energy consumption, being that they are compressor fridges. And just a quick rundown on a compressor fridge. A compressor fridge basically gets the fridge to temperature and then cuts off the power. Then once the ambient temperature in the fridge starts rising again, the fridge will kick on and start bringing the fridge back down to temperature, so you're not always using the power if it's not needed. Both the C9 and the C15 have got battery management on board with low, medium and high, so if you're running it from a power station or if you're running it from your car battery, you can set what mode you're using it from. So if you were setting it from say a power station, you would put it into low or medium mode, and if you were setting it for a car, you would set it to high. The battery management mode would sense if the car battery was at a low voltage, it would cut off all the power to the battery for the fridge and preserve the car battery, and the low and medium battery management would do the same for the power stations. When it gets to a certain low voltage, it'll cut off completely and preserve the power left in the power station. It's got handles at the side so it's easy to transport it. The lid has got a much lower, flatter profile. Obviously it's got more storage and more space inside it. So let's get it powered up and let's see that LCD screen. I'm just going to put it where the C9 was. So it is actually lining up perfectly with the storage box here, and there's still plenty of space to get out. As I said earlier, is if you want to get into the fridge, you need to open it that way. And again, the LCD panel is going to be facing the other way, so that's no good either. And obviously you could say, Robert, just turn the fridge round and have it so the door opens the other way, but the cable connected to the fuse box for the fridge isn't long enough to go that way, so that's why I've had to put it that way. So let's get it turned on. It is daylight in here, but straight away I can already tell this LCD screen is a lot less bright. But a massive win, we're using the C9 plug from the fuse box. So let's see how many watts it's pulling. So as you can see, I'm using the Elite 100 for this. This is the first time I've actually turned the fridge on. You can see we're only taking 35 watts. So already we're taking 5 watts less than the C9. I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison of the LCD screen and how much each is taking for the wattage. And the C9 is using the 12 volt charger that it came with, going straight into the fuse box, and that's being powered by the Bluetti Elite 1, which is taking roughly about 33 watts. And the C15 is plugged into the AC180P, and that is taking 29-30 watts. So remember when I said the LCD display of the C9 was bright, and I was hoping that the C15 was going to be a lot more dimmer? We'll check this out. So that's the LCD of the C9, and just look how much more brighter it is to the C15. So there is a massive difference there. You can see how much more brighter the C9 is. Now that might not seem a lot, but trust me, that does get bright at night. So this got down to temperature a lot faster, and as you can see on the power station, we aren't drawing any wattage, and that's just because the fridge is now at temperature. But again, the C9 does it as well, but as you can see, the C9 is taking just a wee bit longer to get there. So it just shows the battery management system in the updated C range is a lot more efficient. So let's plug it in via AC. and let's see what the power is then. So one thing to notice is if you're going to run your power station with the AC, just remember that using it through AC on a power station, you're going to use more power because the inverter uses power when it's kicked on to obviously give you the 240 volts. So just keep that in mind. And we'll turn the DC off, AC on. You can hear the inverter pop on, and there's the fridge on. So we are already at temperature, so let's go to -5. Just to get some power. So we're now drawing some power from the Bluetti. Aye, and as you can see, we're taking 45 watts on the AC, but we are going down to 36 now. So let's stop the fridge and put the 12 volt back in and see if there's any difference. 12 volt back in, we've turned the AC off. So on the DC, with the fridge trying to get down to -5, we're at 30 watts, 31 max. So going from AC to DC, will save you roughly around about 6 watts worth of power. So 6 watts for a lot of people, they might think that's not a big deal, but put it in terms like this. In the summer, when it's a lot warmer in the van, it's going to affect how many times the fridge kicks in, because obviously the ambient temperature is going to affect the fridge and it's going to warm it up, which means that the fridge then needs to kick in often to bring it back down to temperature that you set it at, versus in the winter and the van gets cold because of the weather outside. This is going to sit at temperature for a lot longer, meaning it's going to kick on less. So it makes more sense just to use a 12 volt DC socket rather than using the AC. And that is obviously more important, especially in a micro camper or a car camper or any camper, and you don't have a lot of power to spare. That quickly adds up, so you could save yourself a whole lot more wattage if you go through the DC 12 volt. And then there's the massive differences as well, where that's only showing numbers, whereas this one, we've got the temperature, we've got the voltage, we've got which mode we're on, we've got battery capacity, we've got Bluetooth, and we've got a USB port. We've got tons more information just on that one screen versus on the C9. You do have your temperature meters here, you do have your different settings for your battery management modes, but on the C15 it's just a lot more cleaner. So to get your temperature up and down, it's just your minus and plus buttons here. You can go all the way down to -20 and then go all the way up to 20 degrees. Like that. A cogwheel at the top, you've got your power button as well, and when you press the cogwheel, it basically just sets whether it's in max mode or eco mode. And this just relates to how quickly it gets it down to temperature. And then if you hold the cog, it lets you change the battery management from low, medium and high. And there's medium, there's high and low. So low and medium is for a power station, and high if you've got it plugged into your car. So let's keep it on low just now. And you've got Bluetooth up the top here, which you can control from your phone. A lot more information and a lot less brighter than what you're getting on the C9. So let's take a look at the app. So to get started, at least on iOS, you download the Alpicool app. So we're going to do this together just to see how easy this is to set up. Let's start scanning fridge. I'm guessing it's that one. It's actually saying app on the fridge. That's pretty cool. Press settings button on the fridge control panel. So that would just be the cog. Hey. So even though we can do everything from that control panel, like I said, I'm going to be putting the fridge there. I'm not going to be able to see the control panel as well, but with this app, look how clean that is. And we can do everything from the app, so we actually don't really need to use the control panel or worry about it. So let's go to -10. Let's see how quickly it reacts straight away. So as you can see, it's saying the battery's 100%, voltage is 13.5, it's saying the current temp is -4, -4. And then at the bottom here, we've got voltage, eco, lock, unpairing, power on and off. So normally when you get these kind of apps for fridges or for power stations, some of them are a bit half-baked, but this one is actually pretty decent. Lock. So with lock off, you can change everything from the control panel. If you put lock on, it actually locks the control panel from being touched. You can still set the temperature on here, as you can hear, but you can't physically do it on the fridge. That lock option's a pretty nifty wee option to have, because anybody that's got a camper van will know when you're driving, you need to lock everything down because it all moves. So if you were driving and something fell over and hit that power button, then your whole fridge would just turn off. However, with this lock screen, I can't even turn it off. That's a nice option to have, especially if you're taking your kids away camping as well. It means that they're not going to be able to muck about with the settings on it and potentially damage or ruin all your food. That's a small setting, but it's a a big setting. And then the top right hand corner you've got the cogwheel for settings, change the temp from degrees Fahrenheit. You can also rename the fridge if you want. You can reset it. I think I will be using the app especially for this. And there is another feature that isn't advertised on our website or any site. You can actually replace the door. So you can actually upgrade the storage in this without buying a new fridge, but just buy a new lid. So let's move on to the pros and cons. So let's start with the pros. The obvious one, larger storage space. The next one is more power efficient, so it got down to temperature a lot quicker. The next one is better ergonomics. Another pro is less bright but more informative LCD screen. The other pro is you can actually increase the storage if you replace the lid. So cons, I actually don't have any. Every single thing about this is a massive upgrade to the C9. So should you upgrade to the C15 or stay with the C9? I think it's going to come down to a few things. Space, have you got it? How long are you going to be going away for? And how many people do you need to cater for? Going all over the North Coast 500, Skye, it just would be nicer to have a bit more fridge storage. With the C15 I now have that, but I've also still got the small form factor. I feel like the C15 is going to be the absolute peak of what you can put in a micro camper, and I'm just excited now to actually get it installed. But I do have a trip coming up to Wales with Rick and his van, and we're going to be hitting Wales for like maybe 7 or 8, 9 days, and I'm going to be bringing the C15 with me, so you're going to see it in action. It is still going to go in the spot where the C9 is, but when I come back from Wales, this full van is going to be getting gutted. So guys, if you want to go and pick the C15 up, I'll leave a link to it in the description. And if you did go and enjoy the video, guys, why not drop it a wee like and let me know in the comments. And if you've got any questions regarding the C15, if you are thinking about getting it but you're still on the fence, drop me a question in the comment section, I'll answer it as best I can. And as I said, I'm going to be hitting Wales in July, so if you don't want to miss it, why not get subscribed and hit that bell notification so you're notified when the trip's happening. So as always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.